Punk music, a form of rebellion against different beliefs. Punks believed they had the right to do and say whatever they wanted. Individual freedom and allowance of self-expression were influenced by punk music and fashion. Punk also influenced politics and ideologies that changed the views of people everywhere, and is still making a huge difference in the world. A major movement in the evolvement of punk was the DIY movement in the 1970s. DIY stands for do it yourself, and it was a way to receive direct action. The punk movement is responsible for the riot grrrl movement happening, and without it, who knows where women would be in the industry today.
I kind of had an idea of the kind of thing that I wanted to do, and when I saw the Pistols, it meant that it was possible.
Fueled by punk philosophy and feminist belief, as well as academic feminism, the riot grrrl movement of the 90s used punk's do-it-yourself attitude. The movement was a way for women to cope with and express themselves about issues like rape, eating disorders, and much more through music, and diversified the punk scene. Punk has parroted a wide variety of subgenres that still exist and thrive today, as well as influenced even more subgenres. The rapid growth of punk music in the 70s and 80s led to people of various musical backgrounds to mix punk with other more diverse genres.
You know, I remember hearing bands like Big Drill Car, and so Danny Way had Big Drill Car in some of his parts, and I was like, wow, you know, Dinosaur Jr., you know, there's like all these great bands that I grew up on.
One popular subgenre of punk is pop punk. Arguably the most well-known pop punk band of all time is Green Day. They have sold millions and millions of albums and are still producing today. There are many artists out there who don't seem to have punk origins. St. Vincent is known as an unorthodox musician and vocalist whose music has been labeled as several genres, including cabaret jazz, chamber rock, and experimental indie. Doing collaborations, shows, and covers with punk artists. It's become a bit more obvious of where her musical roots really come from, having such strong ties and association with punk musicians. Punk rock is not the same as it was when it was first started. It had many movements and changed history. Some bands nowadays have mixed subgenres and add more over time, and they try to connect to the public. Change can take decades to happen, or as fast as a few years. Change in punk rock happened in a couple of decades, because it was a long process, and they had much to fight for and change. Without punk, society wouldn't be the microbrew of musical genres that it is today. From the music to the art of punk, it is said to be an influential part of society and the leading cause to free will.